When it comes to stream restoration, there's a variety of techniques that we can use. And in Nova Scotia, techniques such as digger logs and deflectors have been commonly used with a great deal of success the last 25, 30 years. But if you look across North America and even into Europe, there's a variety of other techniques out there which they work and they're worth experimenting with in Nova Scotia for Atlantic salmon. You know, if a technique is restoring headwater mountainous streams in Oregon, there's probably something we can learn about that and apply it to the restoration work that we're doing in Nova Scotia for Atlantic salmon. And this section of stream here is it's a long pool. It's against a fixed hard bank, and the bottom is primarily bedrock, which is not conducive to invertebrate production, salmon spawning, nor does it provide any cover for juvenile fish in the summer. And it also doesn't help to replenish the groundwater table. So it's overall, it's something that doesn't provide much benefit, really any. So one of the ways that we are experimenting with reversing this bedrock scoured habitat is by using a technique known as tree felling or log tipping. I think tree felling. It's a pretty basic idea. You cut the tree across the river, and what that does is it helps to slow down the river and accumulate substrate. So last year, this pool was all bedrock, but now we can see here we have this nice gravel. This is perfect spawning habitat. It's clean, and basically all of this was bedrock last year, and it formed a riffle, and it also formed a bit of a tailwater control, and it kind of split this one long pool into two. And what we did at the very bottom of this pool last fall, right towards the end of the field season, is there was a large ash tree at the bottom of this pool, and we felled it across the river, and it's gone now. But what happened during a high flow event before that got blown out was it backed the water up all through here. And what happened up above? We had gravel deposit, and then it ended up formulating brand new spawning habitat. So when it comes to using organic materials like large trees, I think the more the better. And when it comes to water, the more you can slow it down, the better. So by doing a technique like tree felling at the bottom of a pool, you can back up the water, you can slow it down a little bit, and you can help start that process of gravel deposition, and it covers up these areas of bedrock. Now, another point to make in this section is, you notice it's right up against a very hard bank, and the floodplain is probably 60, 70 meters across. But we go into it, and this is an old channel. Look, you can see where it opens out. A meandering channel, not very wide, 4.5 meters, but deep. And you can walk over here further into the floodplain, and lo and behold, we are into groundwater. And you can see there's water feeding into this, and we're actually in quite low water conditions. That little channel over there was probably an overflow channel, and the main channel was in here. When you think about rivers running through a valley, it's very odd to have a section of river hug a steep bank like that for too long. So in a floodplain situation, as your rivers meander back and forth across the floodplain, it's one thing for them to hit a steep bank like we saw over there, which happens quite frequently, but it's very rare in a natural undisturbed ecosystem to find a river hugging along a straight slope like that for a long stretch of river, more than say 6 channel widths, which is the typical distance of a stream required to get that meander pattern switching back and forth. So this kind of goes into the history of land use in our rivers. How did these rivers get like this? Well, when they were being farmed or logged, it was advantageous to the landowner or the forestry company. This is in the 1950s and 60s, before a lot of regulations. It was advantageous to fix the stream in one place. So you could fix the stream with a bulldozer against a hard bank, and it can be stuck there for 50, 60, 70 years. And that's what happened here. So an outcome of our restoration could be, in 5 or 10 years, is this channel, this section of stream, is abandoned altogether, and the main channel ends up back there. So we're going to try a few more tree felling techniques here. There's just not a great deal of wood to use, but we're going to try and find something. And we're just going to try and force that water to slow down, gravel to accumulate. And once you get this tail end raised up higher, the water up above will be much more apt to switch over into the center of the floodplain. And I know it's a steep bank, but this 18-month-old Labrador is not having a problem going up and down it. I wish I could move like that. But anyway, there's some nice spawning habitat here. Thought maybe we'd see some trout reds, but I don't see any yet. But that's just a short video of how past land use has really altered our streams, and one of the techniques that we can use to kind of get those rivers to work away from fixed banks.